I am Reverend Dr. William C. Calhoun, and I'm glad to greet you.
Today, we bring you a story of devotion, resilience, and real community impact. It's the story of a pastor who spent more than half a century shepherding one church and transforming a whole community. After 51 years of ministry, Reverend William Calhoun Sr. has delivered his final sermon and stepped down from the pulpit at Trinity Baptist Church here in West Baltimore. His legacy is one that goes far beyond Sunday mornings. And today, we're exploring why his life's work matters not just to Baltimore, but to anyone who believes in faith in action. Born and raised in Frankfort, Kentucky, Reverend Calhoun grew up in an America defined by segregation. Those early experiences helped shape his outlook on life and his calling to ministry. He didn't just want to preach, he wanted to serve. In 1974, he became the seventh pastor of Trinity Baptist Church, a cornerstone congregation in Baltimore's Black faith community. For more than 5 decades, he guided his flock through social upheaval, cultural change, and the evolving needs of the city. When he came to Baltimore, he brought with him not just sermons but a mission to serve. He often said, "I'm a servant. I'm here to help people." That humility became the foundation of his ministry. What made Reverend Calhoun remarkable wasn't just that he preached. It was that he showed up in every corner of life. He visited the sick in hospitals, celebrated marriages, led baptisms, and stood with families in some of their most vulnerable moments. Friends and colleagues say that's what defined his ministry. Not the words in the pulpit, but the presence he brought into people's lives. As one friend put it, to do that for half a century is to influence generations. That's the kind of impact you don't measure in applause. You measure it in lives touched. Reverend Calhoun didn't just serve people at his church. He served the city. From 1980 to 2002, he hosted a Sunday morning telecast called Lift Every Voice on local TV. This wasn't just a religious program. It was a platform. He highlighted churches across the region, showcased their community efforts, and asked hard questions like, "What are you doing to revitalize your community?" He challenged stereotypes about Black churches and opened up dialogue across faith traditions. People from many backgrounds, even outside Christianity, wrote to say how much the show meant to them. Founded in 1888, Trinity Baptist Church has long been a cornerstone of Baltimore's Black faith community. Under Reverend Calhoun's leadership, the church became more than a sanctuary. It became a hub for social action, education, and outreach. Through decades of change, economic shifts, racial tensions, and urban struggles, Calhoun kept the doors open, not just for worship, but for community service. Reverend Calhoun's faith was always connected to social action. He helped organize BUILD, Baltimoreans United in Leadership Development, which focused on housing and neighborhood revitalization. Together with others, he helped construct hundreds of homes, tackled blight in struggling neighborhoods, and advocated for dignified living conditions. Inside Trinity Baptist, ministries expanded to include practical help like a food pantry, not just spiritual guidance, but actual resources for people in need. This was faith that walked the streets, sat at kitchen tables, and opened doors for families who needed a hand up. Reverend Calhoun's influence stretched far beyond his own church. He served twice as president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance and twice as president of the Progressive Baptist Churches Convention of Maryland, roles that shaped faith leadership across the state. But here's one of the most striking things he said. "We believe that the church should speak truth to power and not be quiet. We're here to do and be about just causes." That mindset, faith with courage, is what made him a leader not just in religion but in civil life. Friends, mentees, and church members describe him as generous, intelligent, and surprisingly funny, someone who could make you laugh even when life was hard. One mentee said, "He's always about the common man and woman and how he could help." Another friend expressed pure gratitude, not just for his leadership, but for the way he made people feel seen, valued, and loved. That's a legacy that doesn't fade when someone steps down. It lives on in the hearts he's touched. Reverend Calhoun believed faith wasn't just preached, it was lived. He organized food drives, supported youth programs, and stood alongside families during their hardest times. His ministry wasn't confined to Sunday mornings. It was about showing up, whether at a hospital bedside, a neighborhood meeting, or a protest for justice. That's why people called him not just a pastor, but an inspiration. After 51 years, his departure marks the end of an era. But his legacy isn't fading. It's alive in the people he touched. Generations grew up under his guidance. Families found strength in his words. And Baltimore found a leader who never sought titles or recognition, only service. His story reminds us that leadership isn't about power. It's about presence, compassion, and consistency. As Reverend Calhoun steps away from the pulpit after 51 incredible years, he leaves behind more than a church. He leaves behind a movement of faith in action. Trinity Baptist Church enters a new chapter. But the seeds he planted of faith, resilience, and service will continue to grow. In a world often defined by division, his life stands as proof that one person, committed to serving others, can transform a community. And that's a legacy worth celebrating. So in his own words, no one has a legacy unless they know how to stand on the shoulders of others that preceded them. And he made sure that every generation he served had a foundation to stand on, a legacy of love, service, and community empowerment that will echo through Baltimore for years to come. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, subscribe for more in-depth community stories, and let us know in the comments. What does faith in action mean to you?